welcome everyone to Cabin Fever Crochet. I'm Helene, and thanks to all of you so much for being here for our second annual Crochet and Knit Along 2022. And a big thanks to you, Jay, to you, Tom, for also being a part of this as well. And Tom, unfortunately, was not able to participate in the actual Crochet and Knit Along this year, but has joined us in a short clip explaining why and what he's been up to. Is it very exciting endeavors that he is getting into? We're so happy for him. And oh, by the way, Jay asked me to mention that he actually lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, and not Nashville, which he had thought, and how I remembered it also. And I'm here in northeastern Washington State, and Jay is back east in Georgia area. And you know, fall can be different for different parts of the country. And so how this works, how our Crochet and Knit Along works, is that last year Jay came up with a theme, which was pine cone, and then the three of us, created a design or a stitch around that. And then this year, I was up next to choose the theme. So I went with Autumn Glow, and just whatever that represents to each of us. Jay did a knit pattern this year, and she does both knit and crochet, but her beautiful knit pattern, she was up first with that, and that was last Sunday. And so their links are in the drop-down description section, so please go check them out. And I have an easy crochet neck warmer or cowl or infinity scarf with two different ways to finish it. And it's really easy. It works up quickly and can be customized to any length or width that you like. This one tends to fan out a little bit at the bottom because it's a little more narrow at the top around your neckline, and then it fans out a little bit with the width of your body. This neck warmer is just straight up and down, side to side, top to bottom. So after Tom's clip, I will see you back here, and then we'll get started. Okay, drum roll, please.
Are we on? Makeup, hair? Oh, we're live. Oh, hi everybody. Look who's out there. It's all my needlers and all my hookers. And look who's here for you, finally, after a year. It's me, Tom, the needling hooker. Of course, you know that because you watch my channel. Well, I apologize that it's been a while since I've seen you, but a lot's gone on in the last year since I was in the Fall Festival in October of 2021 with Jay of Jay's Knit and Purl Jam and Helene of Cabin Fever Crochet. Hi, Jay. Hi, Helene. Oh, God. First, I have to say thank you so much to Jay for inviting me because I'm unable to do the Fall Festival this year, and I'll explain to you why in a second. But I owe a big thank you to Jay and much gratitude and appreciation for her asking me to come on video and to be in her video so that I could say hello to everybody and you could hear a little bit about what's been going on with me in the last year. Where do I start? In the last year, since I last saw you and we did our tutorial with the pinecone stitch, at that time I was still quarantining from COVID. I was still living at my mom's with her and my stepdad, and the three of us had come down with COVID. My mom was in the hospital for 2 weeks and almost died from it, had double pneumonia, was on 15 liters of oxygen, and so it was kind of a very worried situation. All better now. My mom's doing well. In fact, about 6 weeks ago, she had a complete shoulder replacement surgery, so she's started physical therapy for that, and she's making wonderful progress. As for me, in the last year, aside from working, I have not had time to do a YouTube video for my channel, and I'm going to resume doing that here shortly for you because in December of last year, I wrote a Christmas song. And so the Christmas song I put ahead of everything else, and a friend of mine who's been producing my songs for me, produced that, all the instrumentation, did the lead vocal for the demo, him and his wife did the background vocals, and so that's been sent off to a publisher who turned it down. Okay, so we'll keep trying. And everyone that I've played it for has said it was a hit song. Now I just have to get it in the right hands. So I'm going to be putting the video up during the holidays or maybe before so that you all can enjoy the song. It's called Christmas Time in Tennessee. If anybody knows anybody who has the right hands, feel free to share the song. Anyway, Aside from that, I finally started my band, and I've got one musician left to find. Actually, I have two that are auditioning Friday night at our band practice, the bass player and the keyboard player, but I have a pedal steel guitar player, I have a drummer, and I have a lead guitar player. So now, once I get the bass player and the keyboard player, then I'm on search for a good fiddle player. And then the Haystack Gang will be officially started. And my stage name is a nickname I had when I was a kid, given to me by my dad's sister, by my aunt, and she used to call me Tommy Tucker. So the name of my band is going to be Tommy Tucker and the Haystack Gang, but it's going to be all vintage country and western music from the 40s through the early 70s. I hope everybody's doing well. Aside from that, I'm doing well. So the next video I do for you and launch on my YouTube channel, The Needling Hooker, is going to be a complete tour of my new place that I moved into in February. And I will then resume tutorials, and I'll have a special treat for you that's been over a year in the making, or trying to make. And that is to begin interviewing guest knitters or crocheters that also have YouTube channels and podcasts that some of you may already follow. And I have two that are willing to do this with me. Well, it sure has been good seeing you again. I'm glad that you're all here tuning in to Jay's tutorial and for the Fall Festival and Helene. And I'm, again, appreciative that I could come to you via Jay's video and say hello to you. I miss you all very much, and thank you again for subscribing to my channel. I'm glad that I got a chance to catch you up and to see you in spirit, and for you to actually see me via this video. Thank you for being with me over the last couple of years since I started the channel, and let's continue to enjoy crocheting and knitting together, and just good conversation and good camaraderie. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. I gotta go needle and I gotta go hook. Well, if I can find some time.
Wasn't that fun? I hope so, because I really enjoyed it. Tom, it was great to see you. I just love your personality. And thanks so much for taking the time to send that to us. And now let's talk about the best type of yarn and weight. Now, I played around with a lot of different types and thicknesses, as I usually do, to see what I felt worked best for this project. And you can go with anywhere from a really lightweight yarn if you live in a warm weather climate, up to a light, chunky, very light, bulky weight in the lighter end of the number 5. And a yarn type that isn't too dense, isn't too tightly wound for best drape. But if that's all you have, of course, use that. You may want to try going up one more hook size and see how you like it. But you can, if you want something real open and more lacy, you can certainly go up a hook size or few if that's the look that you're going for, because the nature of these stitches do tend to be a little bit close anyway. And as far as amount of yarn needed, just for a neck warmer, one average skein, 3.5 ounce, 100 grams, based on a medium number 4 weight in the 175, 180 yard range, up to maybe 200, if somewhere in there. And then for an average sized cowl, which drapes down about to the center of me, similar on the mannequin, 2 skeins for that. And if you are going to work an infinity scarf, that's going to depend on how long. But those are a bit of yarn eaters, because when you twist them and double up and put over your head, you need that extra long to make that twist and to be able the clearance to go over, and where it's just not too tight up, and you will still get that double draped effect. I would say at least 4. 4 is probably a good average number on that. Okay, and then when we work this, we're going to begin working in the row. So we're going to chain the number of chains that I explained, and then you will turn and work the first row back, and then we're going to connect our 2 ends to form a circle, and then we will be working in the round from that point forward. All right, so now let's go ahead and get started. You will need 1 stitch marker. It's going to be very helpful, and 2 hook sizes. So decide whatever size hook you're going with for the main body, the entire piece of your work. So whatever size hook that you go with for your work, then go up one more hook size larger for the beginning chain. You don't want that chain to get over tightened. So I'm working in just an average number 4 medium weight worsted yarn, using a J 6mm for my beginning chain only, and then dropping down to the 5.5mm eye hook for all the rest of the work. So chain to your desired length in multiples of 4 plus 1 for your turning chain, which does not count as a stitch. I'm back with 68 chains plus my one more. Don't let that last chain get over tightened. Sometimes just by holding it, it can. So if it does, pull it back out, put in another one. Oh, and make sure that if you did go up one hook size for your beginning chain, go back down to the smaller of the two. That's what you are going to use for the entire rest of your piece. So now for row 1 to begin, we are going to be working into the back bumps all the way across. All right, beginning with the second chain from the hook, and the first skipped chain does not count as a stitch. So for those of you newer to crochet, we have the back loop, which is the loop farthest away from you, and the front loop, the loop closest to you. That is the top of our work. So you roll your work over to the wrong side, the back side, and you will see these raised loops, the raised bumps going down the center. And those are the back bumps or the third loop. You have one loop, two loops, and then 3. The third loop is what we're going to be working into. So just a single crochet, see it gets tightened down a bit, into that second chain from the hook, into the back bump, and into every chain in the back bump all the way across. Do not make your stitches tight in any of this project starting from the beginning. Kind of use a little bit of a lighter hand with this, and if you find starting this out it seems a little bunchy and too tight, then you may certainly go up one hook size if you need to. Don't want the stitches too open and gaping or anything, but have just a little bit of kind of light coming through each one, just a little bit of space in between. All right, so go ahead and do your single crochets into the back bump all the way across, and I will meet you at the end. And this is the beginning of our top border row. Okay. Now we need to join the two ends together to form a circle to work in the round. We have finished. You're on the right side of the work at the end. So remove the hook off your loop for just a minute. Grab that stitch marker. So now you're going to turn your work from front to back so that the right side is facing out, the wrong side is in. Take your end and bring it all the way down, smoothing out any twists you might have in it. Okay, making sure it's straight, and bring the two ends together. So now the two ends again are on the right side facing out. Take your stitch marker and securely go through some of the stitches along the bottom edge. I go over one stitch from the very end, and then I bring it through again the same, maybe even a couple of times to make sure that's nice and secure through a few stitches. Okay, then very carefully insert your hook back into the loop, And then now we're going to join through both loops of the top of your first single crochet, slip stitch. Now to work row 2 of our 2-row repeat for the border pattern, and this you can work as many as you want, as high as you want this going up. You just repeat these 2 rows over and over, and you can make it more narrow depending on which project you're working, and again how wide that's going to be overall. So think about that too. If you make this border real wide to start, then you want to have enough space to show up that pattern too, and then depending if you're working the border at the other end or you're just going to do that shell stitch at the end. So think about those aspects, how you want to create your own piece, so that might determine how wide your border is at the beginning. And for a neck warmer, you can go real high, you can even go double the height and then fold that over so you have double thickness warmth around your neck if you live in a cold climate. Okay, so we're going to work a modified puff stitch. And I was just playing around with stitches one evening, and this is the border that I came up with. So we're going to chain 1 to begin, which does not count as a stitch. That you can cinch down, but the rest, again, use a light hand to keep these stitches from getting over tightened. So the modified puff stitch, we are not going to yarn over to begin, but you insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Make sure all the loops are going to be nice and tall to that of a double crochet to the height, and they're all the same as the loop on your hook. Now you have 2 loops on your hook. This time yarn over, insert your hook back into the same stitch through both loops. Yarn over, pull up another loop. You have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 4 and chain 1. The chain 1 also counts as a stitch, so make sure you do not over tighten that. And just to take a look here at your stitches, you have 2 stitches. The top of the cluster, there's the front and the back loop, and the top of your chain, front and back loop. Okay, now we're going to skip the next single crochet and into the next work a modified puff stitch. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, another yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you have 4 again. Yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1. And that is your repeat all the way around for round 2. Skip the next single crochet, modified puff in the next, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into that same single crochet, pull up a loop. There's your 4, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1. Skip the next, modified puff in the next, chain 1. Skip the next, modified puff stitch in the next, chain 1. I'll work this all the way around. I will meet you at the end and we'll work that together. Join for round 3. I'm back at the end of round 2, our first puff stitch round, and you skip that last single crochet. So now we're going to just join to the top of our cluster stitch, okay, through both loops. Now we're going to chain 1 and then into that same beginning stitch. So it does tighten up a bit. Don't accidentally miss that or you will come up 1 stitch short. So it's this stitch right here. You have the front loop, okay, and the back loop. Okay, front loop, back loop. We're going to work into the back loops, placing one single crochet all the way around. So insert your hook and work around the back loop, the loop farthest away from you. Place one single crochet. Work one single crochet into the back loop of every stitch all the way around. So that's the back loop of the top of the cluster, the back loop of the chain that you made after the cluster. So into the top of the cluster, one single crochet into the back loop and into the back loop, one single crochet of the chain, all the way around, except for when you get to the very last stitch, which is your last chain. Work through both loops of that chain, okay, with one single crochet, because I found by working into the back loop only, you can see that it just stretches it out and it creates a big gap in between. Working through both loops keeps that nice and evenly spaced from one end to the next. And so what happens by working into the back loop, it creates a really neat little ridge effect on the top of the clusters, bringing those forward a little bit. And on some yarns you can see it more so than others. Make sure you don't miss any, and you might want to double check your stitch count at the end of each of these single crochet rounds just to be sure. That's going to be very important to have the right number going forward into the pattern. Now at the end of round 3, I have 2 more stitches left. Alright, now there is my last cluster. Go into the back loop, one single crochet, and now through both loops in the top of the chain, make the last single crochet. And now for our repeat rows, or rounds rather, repeat rounds. Slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet, and now if you want to, you can take out that stitch marker because it's secure. You can use this stitch marker to mark your beginning stitches if you like, if that is helpful for you to see that better. So slip stitch now through both loops of the first single crochet, and now we are going to repeat row 2, the puff stitch. So our repeat rows for our border are rows 2 and 3. The modified puff stitch row, the single crochet in the back loop row. Rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3. Alright, I'll get you started one more time. So now chain 1. Cinch that down a bit, and you can draw out your loop a little bit to fit it in there because we're not using that chain 1 as part of the stitch. So you can draw it up, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into the same beginning stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1. Skip the next single crochet and working through both loops, insert your hook into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, pull up another loop, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, and repeat with your puff stitches in every other stitch all the way across. Skip the next single crochet, modified puff stitch in the next, skip the next, puff in the next, and make sure you do your chain 1 after each. I will meet you around, reconnect, show you one more time for that single crochet round. I am at the end of round 4. Okay, I have finished my last cluster and my last chain, so I will skip the next, which is the last single crochet, and now here is the top of the cluster. Okay, so again, there is the slip stitch, the chain one, the top of the cluster. You can see the front and the back loops. Go ahead, slip stitch into the top of that cluster. And again, now for round 3, which is a single crochet into the back loop, begin with the chain 1, cinch that down, and again into that same stitch, that very first stitch, top of that cluster, work into the back loop. Place 1 single crochet and then into the chain. 1 single crochet in the back loop of every cluster and of every chain all the way around, except for, remember, that very last chain. You are going to work through both the front and the back loop with 1 single crochet, and then you will slip stitch to join again to the top of that first single crochet, and then begin again. So row 2 and 3, 2 and 3, repeat to your desired height, and we will begin the pattern for the body of the work. And now that you've completed your border, the pattern itself is going to go really fast. Now we're going to slip stitch to that beginning single crochet through both loops, chain 1, cinch that down a bit, and now single crochet back into that very beginning stitch, skip the next stitch, and place 3 double crochets all into the next stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next, and this is your repeat all the way around. Skip the next stitch, place 3 double crochets into the next, skip the next, single crochet into the next, and that is your repeat all the way around. Skip the next, 3 double crochets, skip the next, and single crochet. Skip 1, 3 doubles, skip 1 single, all the way around. And here I am at the end of round 1, the setup round of the pattern. And you can reuse your stitch marker now if you want to. And sorry, I didn't mention that at the beginning. Now the single crochet stands out pretty well depending on the type of yarn that you're using, and just so you don't get confused with the other stitches before, you can always just pop that in at the beginning of each round. Okay, so here I am with 2 stitches left. I'm going to skip the next stitch, and in the last I place 3 double crochet. Since the previous stitch was a single crochet, now I'm ending with 3 double crochets. This little stitch, non-stitch rather, next to it, that's the slip stitch. Okay, and this little bit here, it's kind of hard to see, that's the chain 1. So you don't want to accidentally work into either of these. That's where your stitch marker comes in handy too. So for round 2, slip stitch to your beginning single crochet, and you may either chain 3, which counts as your first double crochet, or you can work an alternate double crochet. So chain 3 is your first, and then place 2 more double crochets into that very first beginning stitch that you just slip stitched into. 1, 2, and 3. Then you skip the next double crochet, and in the next, which is the center, the middle double crochet in that set of 3, you place 1 single crochet. Okay, and then you can, if you want, put your stitch marker at the top of your chain 3, but because the height is so much different than the rest, that to me is just really easily defined. Okay, now you're going to skip the next double crochet, which is the last of in that set of 3, and in the single crochet place 3 double crochets. Okay. This is going to be your repeat all the way around. Skip the next double crochet, single crochet in that middle of your 3 double crochets. And you jump over to the next single crochet, skipping the last double crochet in that set, and place 3 double crochets. So we skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next, which lands you in that middle set of 3 double crochets, and jump over that single crochet and place 3 doubles. And that is your repeat all the way around. And again, I will see you back around. Now back at the end of round 2, I have one more stitch to go, which is a single crochet in the middle of that last set of 3 double crochets. And then now for round 3, we are going to slip stitch into the top of your chain 3 through the front and back loop of that 3rd chain up, a slip stitch, and now slip stitch again into that center, that middle double crochet in that first set of 3. Now chain 1 and single crochet back into that middle stitch. This is where you can take your handy dandy stitch marker, place that, and then we're going to essentially repeat what we did on our setup round, where now you're going to skip the next double crochet and work 3 double crochets into the single crochet. This is round 3. Then single crochet into that center double crochet, 3 double crochets into the single crochet. So we are staggering our shells again. Then you place 1 single crochet into that middle double crochet, 3 double crochets into the single crochet, and that is your repeat all the way around. I'll meet you back at the end of round 3. And here we are at the end of round 3, the second round in our 2-round repeat, which is what we are going to do over and over for the body of the work. So I've placed my last single crochet in the center of my last set of 3 double crochets. Now I have my last single crochet to work into, placing 3 double crochets as the last set in this round, because there's my beginning single crochet and where we slip stitched over to at the beginning of this round. Okay, so I'm going to remove the stitch marker. It's my dog in the background. Slip stitch now. Now we're back to row 2. Repeating row 2 now. To recap, slip stitch into the single crochet and either work an alternate double crochet or chain 3 as your first double crochet, and then place 2 more double crochet into the beginning single crochet. Then you jump over to the center of the 3 double crochets and place your single crochet. And then you repeat this sequence all the way around. 3 double crochets in the next single crochet, 1 single crochet in the center, double crochet all the way around to complete round 2 of our 2-row repeat. One more time, I will see you back around. And once again at the end of round 2, with my last set of 3 double crochets, working my last single crochet in the middle of those 3. And now when you come upon round 2 with your set of 3 doubles at the beginning, you will slip stitch into that top of your chain 3. And then again, remember, now we need to get over to that middle double crochet. So we're going to slip stitch again into that. Don't make those slip stitches tight either. Okay, so now that we're in the center, that middle of the 3 double crochets, you need to place your single crochet. Chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch. Put your stitch marker back in. Mark that spot. Hi, Dusty. Little guy misses his daddy tonight. Yeah. And then, oh, there he is. Oops. Oh my. He wants to make an appearance. I know. He wants to come in my lap. Oh my. Excuse me for a sec. Oh, sweet little guy. Daddy went on a fishing trip this evening and he just doesn't know what to do with himself. All right. Place the first single crochet. So now you just do your 3 double crochets into the next single crochet and 1 single crochet in the middle of the next set of 3 double crochets. And that's all you do. Around and around and around she goes, over and over. Repeat rounds 2 and 3. When you come back around, make sure that you place your last set of 3 double crochets into the last single crochet, and where your stitch marker is, that is where you will join. And I'll meet you back after I've reached the height of my piece, and then I will show you how to work the 2 different border options. The clip for the neck warmer that I had already filmed, edited and everything, it got botched. I did not have time to redo it, but I still wanted to share that with you because I like to give options easy. It's really easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and explain that to you real quickly. Hope that makes sense. So as far as the cowl, this has an extended shell stitch at the bottom, and you end on row 2 of the body of the pattern, and then you begin the shell, and that is your final round 3. Now on the neck warmer, which has the border at the top and the bottom, so on this you end on row 3 in the body of the work, and then to even up the edges, because all we are working are single crochets and double crochets in the pattern. So you slip stitch as usual to begin, you chain 1, and in every single crochet you work a half double crochet. Every double crochet, work a single crochet, and those stitches are through both loops all the way around. Half double in every single crochet in every double to even up that stitch. That is going to count as the same as our single crochet round in the beginning border. And then you just go right back into the border pattern, repeating rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3. The puff stitch, modified puff stitch round, and the single crochet in the back loop round. That's all you do. You just do the same number of rows on the top as you do on the bottom, so that way you have 2 options. And that is a nice way to finish if you're doing an infinity scarf too. And you can make the beginning rows as narrow or as wide as you want. I did 3 repeats on mine, 3 sets of the 2-row repeats, okay? And then maybe an infinity scarf, you just want to do 1 just to have a nice little edging on both ends, and then the main body of your work across the center, just like I did here with just a little bit of yarn that I had left. And now for our finishing round. And so as we've done all along, go ahead and you slip stitch to either the top of your chain 3 or your alternate double crochet, and then slip stitch as usual into that middle double crochet in your set of 3, chain 1 and single crochet in the top. And I have somehow misplaced my stitch marker. That's okay. We'll just remember where that beginning is. So now in the single crochet, instead of doing 3 double crochets, we are going to place 5 stitches. The first 2, work 2 double crochets, 1 triple crochet. So for those newer to crochet, just wrap your yarn around twice instead of once, as in a double crochet, and when you yarn over, you pull through 2, through 2, and through 2 one more time. All right, and then go ahead and work 2 more double crochets, all still into that same single crochet. And that is going to be your repeat all the way around, as easy as that. Again, as before, single crochet in your center in that set of 3, and in the single crochet work these 5 stitches, 2 double crochets, 1 triple crochet or treble crochet, it's both the same, and then 2 more double crochets. Do this all the way around, and this is going to give you just a really pretty, more fuller edging along the bottom. Makes just a really nice frame. Okay, so I will see you when I come back around, and then all you do really when you finish, you'll finish with your 5 stitches all into that last single crochet, and then you skip the next double crochet and slip stitch into the top of, oops, missed that. There we go, into the top of the single crochet, and you just cut your yarn, fasten off, and sew in your ends nice and tidy. And then what I do to join my 2 ends is I just bring my yarn, my tail end over, and I will bring it from back to front, close that gap a little bit. Sometimes I'll go front to back. It just depends on the yarn. You can try it both ways. This might be a little bit cleaner. Yeah, I think I like that better. And then I come back in from back to front and the next stitch over, and I'll bring it through that bottom loop there too. Bring that around, and again one more time, bring that to the back. I mean, there are different ways of doing that, and if you have a better method, one you prefer, you can do that. Give it a little bit of a tug, and I'll bring it back around, and then create another loop going across just to smooth that top out. But anyway, just something like that to resemble the other stitches. And then once I give that a little tug and close that gap, and then I'll start weaving my ends in along the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this round, and I'll see you right back here in just a minute. Alright, and there we are, back around. Now just need to slip stitch to my beginning single crochet, do 1 yarn over, lock that in, I'll cut my yarn, sew my ends in off camera. You can see it's a little more narrow. Hopefully you can see that at the top. Well, I'm sure you saw that in the beginning photos anyway, but yes, it's more narrow at the top, widens at the bottom, fans out a little bit, so it fits the shape of the body from the more narrow neckline down towards your shoulders, and you can style that any way that you like on your body. And one other thing that you can do if you have leftover yarn, if you like fringe, you can add it into every or even perhaps every other single crochet along the bottom. It doesn't have to be real long unless you want it to be, but I think a little bit of fringe would look very pretty, especially because of the shape. And if you do have it to where it's open and curved around the front of you, to have the fringe coming down, I think would be lovely. That is up to you, and you can leave the yarn curly, you can smooth it out, whatever you like to do. Okay, my fiber friends, that wraps up our Fall Festival 2022 Crochet and Knit Along. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed what Jay and I brought to you, and that excerpt of what's going on in Tom's life too. I will be back soon, and take good care as always.